Welcome, everyone. Today on the podcast, I have a dear friend of mine, Angelica Grace Solii. Angelica left a career as an English teacher to pursue her path as a celestial shaman. As a teacher, she used her gifts of intuition and empathy to connect with and guide her students into greater levels of awareness by teaching them love, compassion, and understanding. But as a highly sensitive person, the long days at school, coupled with a challenging personal life, left Angelica stressed more often than not. She turned to yoga for relief, and after years of practicing yoga and meditation, she started teaching yoga. After experiencing a Kundalini awakening, her light language emerged, and her life rapidly shifted as more of her latent healing abilities came online. Angelica Grace received training from a variety of spiritual mentors. I had the pleasure of her presence at one of my celestial shaman workshops in 2019, I believe it was. Today, Angelica Grace helps awakening starseeds, energy healers, and light workers of all kinds navigate ascension and activate their dormant abilities so they too can be of greater service to humanity and all beings. She offers multidimensional integration sessions with light language, intuition development sessions, starseed activation courses, and more. You'll find her online at angelicasolii.com. She spells that ANGELICASOLII. So welcome to the show today, Angelica. Blessings.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for reading that long introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, I want everybody to know where you're coming from. So
Yeah.
a background with being a teacher, a very stressful and demanding career, and that coupled with just trying to be a human. I know that you've had some celestial type experiences that rapidly changed your life, as we were reading in your bio. So tell me a little bit about how you came to discover that you were a celestial shaman. Where did that term come from? Where did you first hear it?
So it came from you. So when I started speaking light language, I did not know what was happening. And it took me a couple of months to even find out what light language was. It was mentioned to me by a shamanic practitioner that I was working with, and we were working on something totally unrelated. And I just said, by the way, I'm speaking this language in meditation and I don't know what it is. And she said, oh, light language? And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what that was. All I knew was I was like, well, that sounds right, that it would be called light language. And so from there, I started doing my searching, and that's what led me to your work. And it all just started to lock into place and make sense. What was happening.
Yeah. And I first saw you at the workshop and I heard your light language. I'm going, I can see why she's here, because she's definitely a celestial shaman. Yeah.
Yeah, that experience was totally life-changing, and it's when I knew that this was my path. There was no denying it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about where you're at now with this celestial shamanism. And I know we're all kind of in a path right now where we don't know what our future is, but where are you at right now with all of this?
Well, I might share some of how things developed then, following that. So everything moved really rapidly to where, I never did any formal training in earth shamanism, and I don't have any formal training as an energy healer either. I never took Reiki. And a lot of the people I work with now, they are already Reiki practitioners, and then they're coming to me and I'm sharing light language with them. So that's really interesting that for me it just happened, and the way I feel it is the energy started moving through me, right? And then it was it's almost like I'm going backwards in a sense. I feel like now I'm learning how this works. So it's, you know, the energy, the healing energy moves through me, but now I'm in this process of discovery, of really understanding and putting it all together. So, but like to catch everybody up on how things progressed for me, I started mentoring with Raina, formerly Amy Carroll, and we talked like every day, and there were developments every day in working with our spirit guides and in just like further activations. And then I also became more aware that I had this walk-in with Angelica. And then we started working like together with each other on the shaman table. And then I had another walk-in with Starlight. And so I was just like continuously processing what I was experiencing. And then meanwhile, I was also starting to practice as a celestial shaman and doing that part-time while I was a teacher. And it quickly got to the point where I didn't feel like I could do both. And my heart was not in teaching anymore. And, you know, my heart had always really been in teaching. So that was a huge sign for me. I was like, well, this, you know, I feel like your heart really does need to be in whatever you're doing. And it was a big sign that I was like, I'm not meant to be doing this anymore. As much as I love kids and I love a lot of things about it, it's not where I was being pulled. My heart was taking me in this other direction. And then I left my full-time teaching job in January. And I've just really been processing it's a new way of life for me, interacting with my guides, and then also serving as a celestial shaman is like, I'm still getting used to it, but with the activations, with the upgrades, I am getting more comfortable with it, you know, and I'm feeling like I'm actually living out what I'm meant to be doing. And now I'm running a starseed activation intensive. It's my first one. It's online, and it's a 5-week intensive. And I think we're in week 4 right now. And that's where it's almost like I take them through a similar process to what I had. So, you know, introducing light language to them, and then helping them see all the different applications, and then helping them understand that they may have walk-in experiences, or, you know, or they're starting to develop more of a connection with their guides. And then I bring them through to, all right, well, now what are you going to do with this? So how do you actually integrate this into your life? And I'm going to be working with them on more of like an exit plan, because I think for everybody, light language it's unique to everybody, the applications. And so I want to help them develop a sense of like where, you know, of security, because I don't know, there's like this balance between like surrendering and then feeling okay in this whole process. And I want to help them feel like, even though there a lot of changes are happening and we're being asked to like really expand, like you're still okay. It's gonna be great.
And you have really been through some expansion processes. I know when you and Yasmin came through, I believe it was in January or early, you had just left your teaching career.
February.
And
right around there.
We visited then. It was like, wow, she has grown even since I knew her, and I could just see you going into something, not knowing quite what you would be doing, because at the time you were still working with Raina, or were headed there to work with Raina. And I thought, well, I still see you doing something in addition to that, but I guess all of us have to evolve into our path. And you were shifting from, had multiple walk-ins at the time. You had a lot of different consciousness that was coming through you. Can you talk a little bit about your process with that? I know walk-ins, when people hear, you know, about walk-ins, they think, oh, possession, and they get all bent out of shape about it. But I think it's a natural process of the soul's evolution. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's really been on my mind so much. I literally just did a video about walk-ins yesterday. Someone asked me to share more about it. And for one thing, I feel like it's so personal for each individual. So what, like the kind of like conclusions that a person draws is so unique to that person's path.
True.
So what, just, you know, throwing that out there, like what I'm sharing is really just based on my experience, and then what I've put together from what I've read of your work and the work of Sheila Seppi. And so how do I use, how do I, you said that it sounds like, or to you, it's like part of the soul's growth, a walk-in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just going to take a moment to reflect on my own personal experience right now. Well, for me, it almost feels like a couple of my spirit guides came down and merged with me.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it feels like they are me. They're a part of me. They have always been with me in one way or another.
Yes.
And they're just making themselves more known. And they are taking a more active role in my life by walking in. Mm-hmm. And you know, in the video I just made yesterday, I went down like the list of all the variations that can occur, like the soul braid, soul infusion, soul layering, like you talk about overlighting. And when I was reading down this list, and I had thought about it before, I'm like, I feel like I've experienced all versions of that. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't feel like any one particular thing happened. It doesn't feel like it was an exact soul exchange. It doesn't feel like it was, you know, sometimes it feels like soul, I can't remember which one it is where they can step in and out.
A rotation, kind of
like, yeah, like a rotation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels more like a soul infusion where we're actually fused together. Sometimes it feels like a rotation because I know that Starlight steps out. Mm-hmm. So if I share a little bit more about Starlight is from Sirius B, and the really weird thing that she does, you know, it's weird to us, but it's really not weird, is she can talk to others. And I'm over here observing her talking to someone else. It could be someone that I am in the same room with, or it could be like you know, and so I'm talking like on a Zoom call, and if I'm with someone who's also pretty psychic or, you know, has those senses activated, they will say, there's this being here, and they'll tell me what she's saying, and I go, oh yeah, that's Starlight, that's me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another aspect of me, and she's just talking to you.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting to observe. And then I also like sense when she is, especially when like we first started integrating, when she's moving in and out, and I remember talking to you about some very vivid moments where I could feel her actually stepping in. Mm-hmm.
And your voice changed.
Oh, definitely. It still does. Like, if I were to, like, she's always with me now. If I were to access her, she would come through right now. So I guess, you know, sharing all these experiences, I really haven't even talked about Angelica yet, but it feels like, I think I shared with you, it feels like there's another one coming. There's something else brewing. But when you talk about like the soul's growth, what it feels to me like is more like I am identifying a little bit more with almost like the oversoul perspective. And then I'm just bringing in the different soul aspects that would be helpful or relevant in this lifetime for my purpose here.
Absolutely. That's a good way of looking at it. I've often felt also, because of our multidimensionality, it makes us think, oh, there's lots of me's. There's lots of me's out there. And that kind of creates a separateness feeling. But that's actually the opposite. It's because of our connection with all of that that we are all of that.
Yes.
I call it the me, we team sometimes, when I feel like if a particular client comes in and my light language is here and they're resonating somewhere over here, then I find my light language will come up and bring them and bring us into a resonant field. And sometimes it feels like when I'm doing light language, I'm stepping back, like you said, and observing, and a language comes through that's directly for them. And it's different than what I was just speaking, but it changed frequencies, vibrational dimensions. Maybe I was talking to a different part of their soul, a different aspect, a different piece of their holographic expression of divinity. I think also what you were saying about embodying more of this. This is the time when we are embodying more of our higher selves, Sophia, the Holy Spirit, whatever people want to call the all that is, we are embodying more of that in these physical bodies. Now, why are we able to do that now when we couldn't like 40 years ago as humanity? Because right now the energies are different. We're in the photon belt. There's a lot more light coming in. We're able to feel things and do things and see things. The veil is much thinner. In fact, I'm not even sure there is a veil anymore. It's like we're jumping from one timeline to another. I've written about that on my blog recently. And I mean, there is no way to say that can't happen, because it can. There are no limitations other than what we set for ourselves to believe. Oh, I'm just human. No, you're really a whole lot more than that. And we're inviting you to tap into that, to step into the more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really beautiful, it's been challenging for me, but it's been a very beautiful experience. And yeah, the me, we, I've had conversations with others who work with their guides and do similar types of work. And they've described that experience of like having, it's the we, we're doing this together. And that also like lends a sense of oneness, and knowing that we are combining, it's almost like combining consciousness, because we are all one. So that happens to me a lot, the we experience, that where it's not I anymore, it's we. And some would look at that as like losing yourself, but I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm expanding and gaining more of all that I am.
Surrender has had a bad connotation for me, because I was raised in a religion in which women were expected to be subjective to men, and women were not as able to hold offices and things like that. So a depreciation, a devaluing of the feminine. With that, I feel like now we are able to express more of the masculine and the feminine in our bodies by surrendering to the higher self, which is us. We're surrendering to ourselves in a higher version. We're allowing the ego, human side of us to step back. It's created enough chaos. It's like, okay, we've heard enough from you. Let's embody by surrendering these vessels to allow more of our higher self, Holy Spirit, Sophia, guides, celestial beings, to have a turn in this biological container that we call us. We're so much more than just a body. The body is just one vehicle of expression. And I think we're way over attached sometimes to guarding ourselves from, it's almost like we've separated and isolated ourselves from all of this expansion, instead of allowing it to come in and really improve who we are and help us to see the divinity that is already within us, that we have through our programming sheltered out, filtered out.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how just yesterday these walk-in experiences have benefited me or improved my life, and it's like there are like no words to really describe it, the shift that's taken place, but one big thing is like my ability to process through things. And I also feel that my vibration is just much higher because they're with me, working through me. You know, again, they are me. But yeah, but it's taken me into more of the observer role where I'm less attached. And that allows me so much more like freedom and flexibility as I'm just move through life. And yeah, I really liked how you were talking about it. I could see this vision of like, we are the cosmos, you know, we are the cosmos. And if we can just allow the cosmos to work through us, so it's so beautiful.
So surrender is not a dirty word.
No, and as we were talking, I was thinking about all the times that I've surrendered, and it's like over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not surrendering who you are. You're surrendering who you are not. You're surrendering the falsehood and embracing your authenticity. We're not the ego. We're not the programming. And that's all that's really giving way to allow for this expansion.
Totally. And you know, I wouldn't surrender if I didn't know on the deep, deep level that this was what was best for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
But yeah, it's scary and you don't know what's going to happen, but on the other end, it's like you jump and you trust that you will be caught, you'll land in safe arms, so to speak. So
yeah. You can't trust the ego to do that. You certainly can't. And yet that's the thing that wants us to hang on. We don't want to change. I find myself sometimes in that resistant mode, and all I've got to do is remember every time I have surrendered to my higher power, to the love within me, to my authenticity, it has brought improvement. The less I resist it, the faster that improvement comes. And with the less stress it comes.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking it's like almost a daily practice.
Oh yeah.
To be in that state of surrender.
And that's being in the now moment, don't you think? That's that observer that you're talking about. It's being fully present. It's being in the body. I mean, how can you ascend a body? We talk about taking our bodies into the light body and moving into a higher consciousness. How can we do that if we're not in the body? If we're not fully in the body and allowing all of our components and expressions of divinity to come in. Now, I'm not saying that this body is able to hold and contain all of who we are. But it can come in enough to raise the vibration and frequency of the body into that light structure so that it can house and hold more and expand and continue to raise its lower its density level and raise its light quotient in order to be able to house and hold more of that. And I find the more I do that, the more at peace I am, the more bliss I experience, the more it becomes easy to trust and to know. Feeling safe, that is something my ego has never been able to make me do, is feel safe. If she always feels nervous, she always feels anxious. And even still, I have to calm her down as if she were a little child and say, Mama's got this. You know, Mama's got this. Because she's not in that frequency of worry and fear. She's in that level of answers, not questions, but answers. She's in that field of infinity where all things are possible.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful feeling. Before we close, I would love for you to share a little bit of your light language with us. Would you mind giving a transmission?
Yeah, I could feel that wanted to come through.
Yeah.
So I feel like Angelica wants to say something. So you know, it'll all come out, probably a bunch of combination.
We don't have to control it. We'll just allow.
Yokora e shamai kiawara, shantanturia wara, ye shamania la wara, kiandiria wara, shantinia mana haikiara, ashantiria wakaye, kiana monia hata. Shenomia wakaye. So just bringing through a little bit of it is like, so Angelica talking now just to describe, part of it is just saying that it's good to be here. And so that's coming from like the higher perspective, because like these non-physical beings, however you want to look at it, like they're also having an experience when they are walking in. So when they walk in, it's like it's a new experience for them as well. And so Starlight is saying it's good to be here. This is helping her soul grow as well.
I love the way you interpreted your own light language there. That was beautiful. And it's not an interpretation. It's more of a, here's the frequency and transmission. Take that and do as you feel led and let it work through your body. It's a feeling, it's an energy. So, receive that. But then you gave an encouraging message that supported that transmission. I love that. It's not a word-for-word interpretation. It's just a supportive message in English or in your understandable language to support the transmission that comes through the vibration of the light language, the sacred geometries.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, they think when I do that, sometimes they think that I'm translating, but I'm not translating. I'm like adding, it's like an additional message that goes with it.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. A supportive message, because it really can't be interpreted. It's like music, the frequencies of music or art. You can look at an abstract piece and you see something totally different than another person. So you can't just say that is a flower. You might say that looks like a flower to me. And the other person's going, I don't see the flower, because it meant something different to them. So that's the beauty of light language, is that it does touch you exactly where you need the help. It comes through. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to connecting with whoever sees this video and sharing more light language. And
I will put a link down below the video when I post it on YouTube or in my on my website to let people know how they can contact you. So if you're doing some of these online intensive, they might want to participate in that program. Since I'm not doing them in person anymore, I will hand that baton over to you and say, Grace be with you where you are, Grace. Grace.
I feel honored. I feel honored just, yeah, I'm like, I could cry right now because I know that this is my mission.
Yeah, yes it is. Otakilora Sloveniaka. So much heart expansion. Embodying more love. The codes of the higher self coming in. Thank you. My soul knows exactly what you're saying, and that's all that matters. I feel it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being with us today and for sharing these moments. And hopefully this will help you to surrender, understanding surrender to be a good thing, not a place where you're giving up who you are, but where you're embracing more of who you are. Yeah. And maybe a little bit of the explanation with walk-ins will help some of you to also take that deep breath and go, okay, it's nice. It's not going to happen to me outside of divine will. It's all part of the process. And if it's not meant to be, it won't happen.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. And so maybe some that are interested in the celestial shaman, I have my latest book, Celestial Shamanism, out on Amazon. So I'll put a link to that below as well. So if anybody wants to check into that a little bit more. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you. Beautiful guides, the MeWe team. And thank you, Angelica. Grace.
I love you, above.
We love you. We love you. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Take care.